Hello! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh. If you're new here, welcome! I have quite a big stack of books here that I just knocked with my hand as I was gesticulating and waving about. This stack of books is exactly why we're here. Today we're going to be talking about my Christmas book haul. I have never received this many books from Christmas before. I was blessed enough to get a variety of books, and we're going to be talking about 7 of them today. If you got books from Christmas, let me know in the comments below. If you got books from any other holiday, or you just recently went on a shopping spree, or you bought a book. It's not the quantity that counts, it's the fun that you're having while reading that does. So let me know in the comments below what kind of books you have recently purchased or been gifted, and the ones that you're excited to read soon. Maybe you're already reading. Tell me all about it. Anyway, without much further ado, the first book that I got is actually a book that I've already read, and I actually recently talked about it in a video, so you can actually check back to last week's video regarding it, but it's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I'm so excited to have a physical copy of this book. This book is so good. Check out my previous video. I'm not going to say much else because I don't want to be a repeat. The next one here is actually a book that is written in French. It's called Avec toi les rêves fleurissent sous la neige by Vare Macfarlane. This, I believe, is originally written in the English language, but I got a French translation of it, which I'm super pumped by, because this seems to be a Christmas romance. I've never read a Christmas romance in French before. I mean, I only started reading Christmas romances 2 years ago in English, so I'm quite excited to read one in another language. I do like the genre. I think it's super fun for the holidays. It really gets you into that Christmas spirit. So I'm excited to start this, not soon, because Christmas is now over, despite my beautiful lights in the background. But I'm excited to read this maybe this year, around November or December, when the new season begins. I must say, it's got great flop factor, and the font is really cool. And on Goodreads, if we take a look here, this book has 4.02 out of 5 stars, which is pretty good. It, like I said, is a contemporary romance. It does not actually say Christmas. Maybe it's not a Christmas book. Huh. For some reason, it just kind of gives Christmas vibes, don't you think? You got like holly and bells and, you know, some coniferous needles, a little village, snow. Could just be winter. And if that's the case, that's okay too. I don't know if I've ever read a book that took place in the winter. Is that weird? Gosh, that might be weird. Well, I'm excited to explore something new. This particular book, let's see what it is about. We'll read the blurb here. Mes amis, mes amours, et toi. Yves sait que ça ressemble au scénario d'un téléfilm romantique, mais c'est pourtant la vérité. Cela fait des années qu'elle aime en secret Ed, l'un de ses amis. Certes, il est aujourd'hui en couple, mais elle reste persuadée qu'ils sont destinés à être ensemble. Du moins, elle l'était, jusqu'à ce que sa meilleure amie, Suzy, décède dans un accident. Du jour au lendemain, ce drame fait imploser leur groupe d'amis si soudés, révélant des secrets enfuis qui montrent Ed, Suzy et les autres sous un nouveau jour. Yves ne sait plus à qui se fier. Le seul qui reste égal à lui-même, c'est Finley, le frère de Suzy. Même après des années d'absence, il est toujours aussi distant, antipathique et séduisant. Et lorsqu'elle se trouve embarquée avec lui dans un road trip à travers l'Écosse, Yves découvre de toutes nouvelles facettes qu'elle n'avait pas soupçonnées. Okay, so this is not a Christmas book. At least it does not appear to be. It's not really in the storyline itself. It's not what I anticipated, that's for sure, but that doesn't mean anything. It sounds like it could be a very nuanced book. I hope so. It's possible it won't be, because most romance is not. However, every so often you come across a gem in the romance genre, which goes beyond just the feel-good vibes, which, don't get me wrong, I love those. Sometimes you need those. It's definitely necessary in the space, but sometimes it's nice to read something that's a little bit more layered. And maybe this will be a little bit more layered, because it seems to have a lot of emotion packed in it. At least that's the vibe that I'm getting from reading the blurb. Either way, I'm excited to read this, and I'll probably still wait till, not Christmas per se, but maybe a more wintry time. Although, I must say, that here where I live in central Canada, it actually started snowing today, which is the first time this winter season. So I'm quite excited about that. So is my dog. He's been dipping his nose in the snow on his walks, and he's been loving it. And I love watching him do it because it's really cute. So I'm quite excited about the snow that's outside. Anyway, the next book that we're going to be talking about is a book that I have been wanting to read since I first discovered it. And this book has been all over the BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram, all the book places. It has won awards. It is a genre that I don't usually dive into, but it is a book that I am so fascinated by because it just seems to have an amazing story. A story that is language related, and as a language learner and educator myself, I am super duper pumped to dive in. This book is Babel, An Arcane History by R.F. Kuang. So let's talk about it. So on Goodreads, it got 4.22 out of 5 stars. It won a Goodreads Choice Award, or at least a nomination, for Best Fantasy of 2022. It belongs to the genres of fantasy and historical fiction, magical realism, and science fiction. I love a good sci-fi book. Fantasy is okay. Magical realism I love. So if it, is one of the two, then that's pretty good. I'm definitely excited to check that out. Let's just read the blurb. The blurb is where it's at. 1828. Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. Babel is the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power, as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy, raised in Britain, he realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. Interesting. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide. Can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? Now, this sounds like a book I would not read. I don't like violent books. I don't like books that are based on war or revolution. That being said, I have another book here that I'm going to be talking about. But because this is related to translation and language, and it definitely sounds like the sociopolitical aspect of language, which I find fascinating and definitely an important part of translation. It must be understood in order to translate things properly. I am super duper excited to read this book. It sounds so cool. It sounds so interesting. It is something that is not typical, which intrigues me. And again, great plot factor. The font is quite lovely. It is a thicker book than I normally read. What is this one here? Yeah, this is 539 pages. So that's a little bit more than I normally read. But, 541. But I'm trying to get over my big book fear, and I'm hoping that this is the book to help me do it. I am really looking forward to this, and I'm sure that I will pick this book up right away here, because I have been wanting to read this for quite some time. Moving on, we have another book written in French, and this one is actually from France. So, Guillaume Musso is the author of Central Park, or Central Park. This particular book is 3.94 out of 4 stars. It is a thriller, mystery, romance, as well as a crime novel. I don't typically read crime novels. In fact, no, I have read crime novels, and that's why I don't like them. However, I really like this author, so I'm assuming that I will like it. Also, the storyline sounds kind of intriguing. Alice et Gabriel n'ont aucun souvenir de la nuit dernière. Pourtant, ils ne sont pas près de l'oublier. New York, 8 heures du matin. Alice, jeune flic parisienne, et Gabriel, pianiste de jazz américain, se réveillent menottés l'un à l'autre sur une banque de Central Park. Ils ne se connaissent pas et n'ont aucun souvenir de leur rencontre. La veille au soir, Alice faisait la fête avec ses copines sur les Champs-Élysées, tandis que Gabrielle jouait du piano dans un club de Dublin. Impossible. Et pourtant... So, to me, this sounds so interesting. I want to know why these two people are together. How did they end up in Central Park, like tied up basically? I want to know how these two people know each other. It says they don't know each other, but I mean, is there some sort of connection between the two that has brought them together by the person or the thing that has brought them to Central Park without them knowing? Also, how's it that he's from Ireland, or at least was in Ireland, and now he's in New York? And he has no recollection of it? It just sounds wild to me. And I want to know the twist. I want to know what is happening. I want to know. Next, we're moving on to some romance. Like I've said before, I read a lot of different genres, and they're not always related. This one is called Where We End and Begin by Jane Igharo. She's one of my favorite authors, actually. I've read 2 of her other books. She only has 4, I believe, and 1 I think is not even published yet, so she currently has 3 perhaps. This is something that I've been looking forward to ever since I finished reading The Sweetest Remedy, which it actually says here, author of The Sweetest Remedy. This book on Goodreads has 3.71 out of 4 stars. It is a romance, and it heavily features the Nigerian culture, which is one of the reasons why I love this author, because she does that in a lot of her books, or at least in the books that I've read. I really love that intercultural aspect of her literature. This one I'm quite excited to read. I know I've said that about every single book here, but I mean, I'm a bookworm. I love reading books. Anyways, let's read the back. So, Dunny hasn't seen her high school boyfriend Obinna since she left Nigeria to attend college in America. Before their devastating separation, they vow to find their way back to each other one day. Now it's 12 years later, and their vow is a thing of the past. Dunny works as a geneticist in Seattle and is engaged to a man she doesn't love, but whom her parents approve of. Her future is laid out for her, and everything is going according to plan until she returns to Nigeria for a friend's wedding and runs into Obinna. The shy, awkward boy she loved as a teenager is now a sophisticated, confident man. Things have changed, but there's still an undeniable connection between them. As they rediscover each other, their days filled with desire and passion, Dunny is reminded of the beautiful future she once planned with Obinna. But when secrets are revealed and the reckless actions of their past brings new challenges, she's left questioning everything, including whether the love that consumed her as a teenager is still worth holding on to. I do trust Jane Igharo. Her other books are very layered. They're very profound. They are beautifully sculpted. Their characters are quite lovable, but also messy, and that's part of why they are lovable, because they're so relatable. So I'm quite excited to dive into this book. It's going to be tough to figure out which book I'm going to read first, to be honest. It definitely is. Moving on to number 6 here, we have another French book by Marc Levy. I've read so many of his books. This one is called Les Enfants de la Liberté. This book on Goodreads has 4 out of 5 stars, which is pretty good. It belongs to historical fiction, romance, and war. This is that other book I was telling you about earlier when we were talking about Babel. I don't typically read war books. Definitely not. But I really like Marc Levy. I think he's very talented. He's a very interesting story. I hope one day he comes out with a memoir. Or if he already has, I need to read it. I don't know, I should probably investigate that. But he is a great novelist. I read pretty much every single one. Or at least I have a lot in my bookcase here, and I need to read more, but I've already read several, so we'll see how this one goes, but I have high hopes. The back of the book, let's see this. Mars 1943. À Toulouse, Raymond, 20 ans, et son frère Claude, 17 ans, rejoignent la résistance. Ils y rencontrent des garçons et des filles de leur âge. Planques, traques, combats, arrestations au petit matin, le périple les conduira jusqu'au train fantôme. Quand l'un d'entre eux tombe, un autre sort de l'ombre. Raymond Levy a pris un jour le chemin de la résistance sous le nom de Janon. Son fils Marc raconte son parcours et celui de ses camarades pour tenir une promesse et pour tout raconter de ces heures noires où des adolescents, au péril de leur vie, ont défendu la liberté. Is this based on real life? His son, Marc, And the guy's name is Raymond Lévy. The author is Marc Lévy. He's telling the story of his father's journey. What? That's wild. So this might be a little bit autobiographical, maybe, or maybe Marc Lévy just inserted himself as a character. He does do some experimental things in his books, which is one of the reasons why I love his writing. So it's quite possible that he's inserting himself as an active character, which is pretty cool. I love it when the narrator is a character, by the way. I think it's a really cool aspect of literature. It really can convey a theme or a message in a unique way, and it's often very powerful. So I am excited to see what that's all about. What the heck? Maybe it's not him and he just used the name Marc. I mean, Marc is a really, really common name. Kind of annoyingly so. I feel like every movie, every single book, there's a person named Marc, and it's like, really? Can you be a little bit more creative? But if he's using himself, that is pretty creative, and I'm thrilled to check that out. That's cool. This next book is a book that was published at the end of the summer, or the end of the summer. It was in August of last year. It's called The Museum of Human History. Check out this beautiful cover. It's so cool. Also, I love the font and the colors. This book is written by Rebecca Bergman. This book I did not think was going to be published in Canada for some reason. I think I saw, some sort of information regarding it that made me believe that it wasn't going to be published here. So I ended up taking it off my Goodreads TBR. But then I got it for Christmas and I thought, what? How did that happen? So it was kind of a nice surprise. And this book here, it doesn't have great flop factor, I must admit. It's a little stiff, but tactily, it's quite satisfying to touch. It's very soft, and in terms of the design of the cover, I absolutely love it. Anyway, let's check this out here. On Goodreads, it has 3.55 out of 4 stars. It belongs to science fiction, literary fiction, and speculative fiction. Oh, and also fantasy. So that's kind of cool. I love those combination of genres. The back here says, after nearly drowning, 8-year-old Maeve Wilhelm falls into a strange comatose state. As years pass, it becomes clear that Maeve is not physically aging. A wide cast of characters finds themselves pulled toward Maeve, each believing that her mysterious sleep holds the answers to their life's most pressing questions. Kevin Marks, see another Mark. It's everywhere. That name is everywhere. It's like the new Smith or John or something. Kevin Marks, a museum owner obsessed with preservation, Monique Gray, a refugee and performance artist, Lionel Wilhelm, an entomologist who dreamed of being an astrophysicist, and Evangeline Wilhelm. Evangeline has been making a comeback too. I've definitely seen that name multiple times recently. In fact, it's currently the protagonist's name in the book that I'm reading right now. It's been making its rounds, that's for sure. It's not a bad name. It's kind of pretty. And Evangeline Wilhelm, Maeve's identical twin. As Maeve remains asleep, the characters grapple with a mysterious new technology and medical advances that promise to ease anxiety and end pain, but instead cause devastating side effects. Weaving together speculative elements and classic fables, oh cool, and exploring urgent issues from the opioid epidemic to the hazards of biotech, to the obsession with self-improvement and remaining forever young, Rebecca Bergman's The Museum of Human History is a brilliant and fascinating novel about how time shapes us, asking what, if anything, we would do, or we would be without it. Wow, that sounds good. This is why I love literary fiction. Literary fiction covers so many interesting facets of humanity, and it really speaks to the human condition, and this book seems to be, well, it seems that it's going to be doing just that, and I'm quite excited to explore that. It definitely makes you think, it makes you question, it makes you consider things about yourself perhaps that you have ignored or haven't really considered before, and you can learn a lot from literary fiction. You definitely can, and I'm excited to learn from this and to see what this truly explores. I know it mentions a few different things on the back here. I'm curious to see how it actually approaches those topics. Thank you for joining me so I can nerd out on my future reads. I'm excited to dive in and just, stick my nose in there for a while. If you recently got any books, or there are certain books on your radar, or you are interested in these books, let me know in the comments below what those books are. The first book that I'm probably going to pick up, I think, will either be the Museum of Human History or Where We End and Begin, maybe even Babel. I don't know, we'll see. It depends on how I'm feeling. I'm very much a mood reader. I'm trying not to be, but it's kind of the way that I work currently, so we'll see how that goes. I'll definitely let you know in my videos here on my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you again soon, and until then, take care. Bye for now.